Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon. Indy Sports Nation on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Happy Blue Friday to you. Hope your week has been as good as mine. Take that back. Hope it's been better. It's been a great week here too. Back here in the beautiful city of Indianapolis. Another fantastic Fall Friday. Man, we have a ton to catch up on. As you can see, I'm back in the digs. Still in construction here, but that's all right. But last week was at, did a little on location up at the beautiful campus of Purdue University. Game didn't go, the game went pretty much as we thought it would. We'll touch on that in a bit. But man, we got a lot to get over. I'm gonna flip it around a little bit this week, I think, here on episode 5. We have always let off with with Colts and why wouldn't we? I mean, at this time of year, it's what most of us are all talking about, right? So obviously we'll get to a lot of Colts, but we're going to flip the order around this week because I'm going to start off with IU football because to me, how can you not at this point? They've earned it. 7-0, your Indiana football Hoosiers with a statement this past Saturday. We'll get into that a little bit. Obviously, we'll touch Purdue. So we'll kind of flip the script, do some college up front. Do a little quick preview of Butler hoops. And obviously, we'll get into Colts. And, by the way, the Pacers. Pacers tipped off Wednesday night. Got a nice win. We'll touch that. We'll touch base on that as well. I'm going to give you a bold prediction on that later. But no, welcome in. Thanks for joining as always. If you're watching on YouTube, much appreciate that as always. Feel free to comment. Again, keep it sports, keep it PG. Not to get crazy here, but let's have some fun with it because, as I said, there's a lot to talk about today, and would love to get your interaction and whatnot as well. For those of you watching via YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, or I'm going through the scrolls right now. Go check us out at iusportsradio.com. We're available on all your podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Google Podcast, Amazon, everywhere. I've been over this a million times with you. You all know this because we are everywhere. So check us out on the site, obviously. And while you're there, do some shopping. Christmas is upon us, or will be upon us, rather. You're already seeing it, right? You're going out to the stores and you're already seeing the decorations. It's kind of gross, but that's neither here nor there. Give your boy Big Mike here a big follow if you don't mind on the old X or Twitter, whatever you're calling it, and at Indy Sports _IESR. You can also give me a personal follow. I'm at the Chill Mike. So as mentioned, we have a lot to get into. So before we get into that, we're gonna pay some bills. We got to give our love to our sponsors, Planet Jerky and Seal the Deal Wax Seal. So I encourage all of you to go check out their websites and you'll try some amazing jerky. And then obviously, if you know anybody with some big events coming up, Seal the Deal Wax Seals has you covered. So on that, I'm gonna chit chat a little bit less, and we're gonna go ahead and pay some bills. And on the other side, we're gonna get right back into it. So. Thank you all for joining me here at 5 to 6 p.m. as I do every Friday afternoon, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern time, I should specify. So saddle up, get comfortable. Let's have a good start to the weekend. Have a fun time today. Indy Sports Nation right here at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all the sports. We'll be right back.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
All right. Welcome back. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated on this crazy ride. Again, much thanks and love to the folks at IU Sports Radio. So let's get into it. I said I'm going to start off with IU, and that's what we're doing. I tell you what, man, I did not see that coming. I'm sure some of you probably did. Some of you were, I've talked to some of you IU fans, and that's great. Don't get me wrong. I don't think anybody saw that type of deal coming. That was just an old-fashioned beatdown. That's exactly what it was. It's an old-fashioned beatdown. In fact, I'm still kind of surprised about, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't think anybody saw 56-7 as as a result. Maybe, hey, if you did, I would love to chat with you. Because I was talking about this last week. This is going to be one of the better defenses that IU has played against, and that didn't look to be the case at all. Try to get the old banner up here, so I have a little. There we go. So, just just the efficiency that IU did this as well, right? I mean, this might irritate some fans or whatnot. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the old Colts days. Just some big plays, and they just moved the ball down the field. Got big plays on both sides of the ball. They just did pretty much whatever they wanted to do. Now, the big story that came out of this is Curtis Warp was injured his thumb, had a little surgery on it this week, I believe on Monday. I believe it was. Nothing crazy, but it's going to obviously he missed the second half of the game, and he's going to miss this week. Now, Taven Jackson, who is a Indiana favorite, as you will, from the south side of Indianapolis, stepped in and did very, very well. Was 7 of 8, think it's just on 100 yards through 2 touchdowns. But I think the biggest thing for me and watching that is how much more comfortable he looked, in the pocket and just running the offense comparative to maybe the last time you saw him play. I remember seeing him last year, he just never looked comfortable. His footwork wasn't ideal. He just had there's a lot of flaws there. I mean, you can see some raw talent, don't get me wrong, but there was definitely some things of concern. And tip of the cap to him, because man, you could tell he's worked a lot, through spring and off season and what have you. He has just, it's almost night and day to me to see the improvement that I've seen from him. So, again, from the standpoint of the game, it was a great atmosphere. If in case maybe you watched on Fox, the big noon kickoff pregame was in Bloomington. Fans, and if they turned out, they were loud. It was fantastic. Great to see. Great atmosphere, no doubt about it. And I was really kind of hoping selfishly that I could do the show in Bloomington this week. But as soon as they announced that College Game Day is going to be there, I think ticket prices literally almost tripled. So that was, no such luck for me, but that's all right. That's all right. It's good to be back here in Indy as it is. But so we'll get in. Let's chat about the game. The big game tomorrow, right? It's you have the Washington Huskies coming in, who is this is an interesting team to me, and they're a little Jekyll and Hyde. They do well at home and they do terribly on the road. They do have a nice win against Michigan. At that time, Michigan was ranked, I think, around 20th or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but a decent win there. But they've been on the road and lost to Rutgers and just got whooped in Iowa. And now they come here. They are getting their edge rusher back. They do have a decent corner, so I do think well, it's hard to say. I thought Nebraska would put up a little bit better fight last week, so I do think Washington does have some athletes on defense that could maybe give IU a little bit more of a challenge. And I know there's people around like, well, you're back. It's a backup. There's no Curtis Work in the game. It's going to be Taven. Telling you, Taven Jackson's a bit more of a dual threat guy. And that's not to say that Rourke can't run the ball. I'm not. I think he ran it once against Nebraska, just one of those coverage deals. But Taven can actually. He's a little bit more of what I would consider a dual threat guy as compared to Rourke. I mean, Rourke does so many other things well. Obviously, you've seen it. So I honestly don't think that it's going to really slow down the IU offense all that much. They're getting 7 points as a spread. I think that's good. I think they win by more. I don't see a 56-7 blowout here. But I do see, I'm kind of feeling a 30, 34-21 type of thing, perhaps something like that. We'll see how Washington does offensively. They've had some struggles, especially when on the road. So we'll see how IU's defense can adjust to that. And I think as long as they keep them in check early, I feel pretty good about IU's chances. But going back to Rourke with his injury, fortunately, it's nothing serious. I mean, the thumb, it's his throwing hand. So, but they are looking to have him back as early as next weekend at Michigan State. And, obviously, we'll talk about that game next week. But to me, they got to be careful on that one. That's on the road. That's never really an easy place to play. I mean, Michigan State's not wowing anybody this year, but they have Michigan the week after that. So it's kind of one of those sets up as a potential trap game. Obviously, you don't want to see that. But look, man, you got to give love to this team at 7-0. Looking to match what they did in 1967. This is crazy, and I know the Hoosier Nation is going to show up big at College Game Day. I can't wait to watch. Cannot wait to watch that game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I actually expect, with Taven Jackson being that kind of dual threat guy, I think Justice Elson, their stud running back, who's averaging over think it's almost 7 yards of carry now after the game he had against Nebraska. That's going to be a punch back there. I think Washington's going to have their hands full. This will be one of the more dynamic offenses that Washington has seen. And I don't see where Washington can contain all the weapons that IU has. But we'll see. We will see, no doubt about it. But again, I could not be happier for the IU football faithful. I know it's just been it's been rough, but I want to give credit. I was just thinking about this the other day, and for those of you who may or may not know, this really, to me, this whole thing got built by former coach Terry Hebner, who came from Miami of Ohio. This has been obviously several years back. He turned the football program around relatively quickly, and then unfortunately had developed a tumor in his brain, and unfortunately that was it for him. And he just kind of got something started, calling it the Rock, Memorial Stadium, and just changing the culture, if you will. And then of course they've had setbacks since. That unfortunately goes without saying. But I almost feel like, to me, that's kind of where it started. And I don't know. I just, like I said, I can go on and on about IU football and how great it is to see see this happen for them, and the fact they could potentially be in a college football playoff, which right now they're projected to be, is just crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me. So, with that said, let's move to the rival Purdue. Purdue football remains awful. Although, hey, listen, I got to give a quick shout out to the Purdue faithful. That was a great atmosphere last Friday night. I mean, I think most of us kind of knew going into that game that, it was not going to go in Purdue's favor at all. But student section was there. They were loud. Fans were loud. I mean, Oregon, I know some will say, well, man, Oregon had a lot of fans there. Oregon's kind of like a national brand now, right? You think about it. I mean, they've been perennial for a long time. So I didn't really think much of that, to be honest with you. I just loved the energy in the stadium. And even down like 21-0, people were still on their feet, cheering, trying to rally their Boilers on. And look, it was just a mismatch. That's all there is to it. It's just Oregon is Oregon and Purdue's Purdue. I mean, Oregon bettered every position. And what was tough about that was watching Purdue, and you'd see them make a good play or two, but they couldn't make three. They couldn't string anything together. So you see them make two good plays. You're like, okay, all right, let's go. And in the third one, it was, whatever. So it's basically 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. And obviously you can't do that against a good team like Oregon. You absolutely cannot. Rumors were swirling there, as you can imagine, with Ryan Walters, and people calling for its head, and and there's some other rumors have come about since. I'm not going to even bring them up. There's just no. I mean, they're rumors. So until there's facts coming out, I'm not going to talk about it. But it just continues to be a terrible, just a terrible season. But again, I got to give them props. There's a lot of fan bases that would have bailed, after the first quarter. And I get it, because some fan bases would have shown up. It's Friday night primetime game. It's national TV, yada, yada. But they stayed. And I think it was probably basically around by the end of the third quarter or something like that when you saw people start kind of filing out of there. At that point, I think it was 28-0. And Purdue's offense wasn't going to do anything. Poor Ryan Brown looked, quarterback for Purdue. He looked deer in the headlights, man. And I just felt bad for him. I mean, here it is, starting, here he is starting and home start against, the now number 1 ranked team in the country. So, no pressure, buddy. Go do it. So we'll keep an eye on there. The good thing is we don't have to watch Purdue football this week because they're not playing. So we get a week away from this terrible season that has been Purdue football. So we get to watch, good football instead. And like I said, Boiler fans, this season will be over soon enough. But in the meantime, you all get to focus on this fantastic volleyball team. So let's turn this into a positive. They have now won 7 out of their last 8 matches. The only loss was to Nebraska on the road, and 5-setter. And that's a match, as I mentioned last week, I couldn't win either way in my eyes. That's no hate to Nebraska, but I'm just telling you. I mean, these women are playing that good. I mean, Raven Colvin may be one of the best in the country. Eva Hudson now has 5 straight matches with at least 17 kills, which is impressive. Of course, they beat the snot out of IU, which there's a little bit of saving grace for Boilers fans, I suppose. And the Monon Spike. So that's in remains of Purdue. So nice rivalry win there for the Boilers. And here's, to me, this is of all those great things. Check this out. I love this stat. A Big Ten record attendance when it comes to interconference play, or not, I mean intra-conference, as in within the conference. So it's a Big Ten record between Big Ten opponents. So that match drew 14,876. So I'm telling you, I'm going to rave of the Purdue fan base. I'm absolutely, again, to show out like they did and stay as long as they did against a complete mismatch Friday night, and turn around and support these bad. He's just a PG show. These amazing women. I mean, these women are just killing it for Purdue and the volleyball team rather. So big match tomorrow. Big win tomorrow. It's a gold out tomorrow. So hopefully if Purdue, I'm sure they'll show up. Hopefully another big attendance. This is against number 8 Wisconsin. So big one here. I'd love to see the ladies get this one. They've been hanging out at number 10 in the rankings for what seems like forever now. And as I've mentioned before, their handful of losses have been to only the top 10 opponents. So, but I do feel like the way they're playing, the momentum they have, I do think they can get this one. Not going to be an easy one, no doubt about it. But I do think they can get this one. So much love to the Purdue volleyball women up there, just killing it and continue to kill it. So on that note, we're going to hit next few round of breaks here. But on the other side, we're going to get into also talk about the Irish. Good win over the weekend. And then want to get a quick Butler Hoops preview in before we get into Colts and Pacers here. So on that note, we're going to get another one in here. Appreciate you hanging out with your boy here. And a little more technical issues here, which is really weird. So maybe we'll just keep on going here. We got plenty of time, so we can definitely go into a little bit of Irish here, maybe. We can. There we go. All right, technical issues taken care of. So let's go ahead and get the break in, and we'll get on the other side. We'll talk Irish, talk a little bit about Butler here. So Big Mike, Indy Sports Nation, right here, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back.
Hey, Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen D, host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, Be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
The roar of the crowd, the drama and pageantry, the adrenaline rush and decadence of the world of professional wrestling. Join yours truly, the SoCal Saint, for the best pro wrestling podcast going today, the IE Wrestling Show, exclusively on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Join us every Wednesday from 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, every Wednesday, the IE Wrestling Show. It's just too woo!
Welcome back. Big Mike here. As I mentioned before, another beautiful Friday afternoon here in Indianapolis. Happy Blue Friday once again. Well, I tell you, I mentioned last week, I was a little bit nervous about initially about Notre Dame. And turns out I didn't need to be. I was, of course, they announced before the game that Georgia Tech's quarterback was going to be out, which at that point, I feel like, okay, Notre Dame, you got to kind of do your thing here. And they did. They did. Especially, I mean, defensively, they just kind of set the tone. And I'd be interested to hear your comments on that. I appreciate the ones who've commented and via text or what have you, social media, you name it. But they go on to defeat Georgia Tech with 31-13. And I said defensively, and that's been the difference with them, I think, in these past few weeks. I've noticed defensively, and you see this from, I'll get into the Colts in a bit, but you see, like, for example, you take the Colts from run defense, which isn't all that great, as we know. But they get that point of contact, right? And at that point of contact, typically for the Colts, the running back usually falls forward and gets a couple extra yards, which drives us crazy. However, the one thing about Notre Dame I've noticed is that point of contact, they're winning that point of contact from the defensive side of the ball. And these guys aren't going anywhere. And it's huge to me because you look at something and say, for example, a couple of times I saw there's Georgia Tech on 2nd and 7, for example. Run a counter run play, and Notre Dame's right there standing them up, and they're down. So instead of, in some cases, that could have been a 3 or 4 yard gain. Now it's, instead, now it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, as opposed to 3rd and 3 or 4, which can make a big difference. And that's been something they've been doing really well with, I think, and even with their injuries, missing their edge rusher in the corner, and guys are stepping up and making some plays defensively, and that's been huge for them. Ronnie Leonard did throw another pick, so hated to see that, but they did still win the turnover battle, which is obviously most important, right? And they had some big special teams plays, which is also, someone argues, a difference. Fake punt gets them a first down and gets them down to score. And then, Georgia Tech had a special teams, a muff field goal there that, with Notre Dame's favor. So Georgia Tech left some points on the board. I don't know it would have mattered. That's and then Aiden Schuler, of course, did the game sealing it with that pick 6. And I think that at that point it was put them up 31-7, I believe. So Georgia Tech gets a late score, and it was over at that point. So good win for the Irish on the road, even though both teams were a little banged up and whatnot. But hey, that's what it is. It's next man up, right? Can't you can't make excuses. It is what it is. So now this gets interesting this weekend now, because going to play Navy, undefeated, 25th ranked Navy in Jersey, in East Rutherford, which the last time, if I'm not mistaken, that was, I think, 2010-ish, if I'm not mistaken, that Notre Dame was there playing Navy and lost. And then there was another one, I think, maybe in 2017. I can't remember. I feel like that's right, where Navy got them. But the overall series is like 82-13 Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's won 6 straight. I'll be honest with you. This is scaring a lot of Irish fans here. And I get it. I mean, you don't want to fall in that trap of Navy, but I'm telling you, this isn't the old Navy. At least from a little bit I've watched of them, this is not this wishbone and old school, just crazy cut blocks and run the ball and pass it 3 times. This offense has evolved for Navy, and so it's going to make for an interesting deal. And of course, it's going to be amped. I mean, here it is. This could be. You've got Navy unbeaten, Army's unbeaten, and then that could, down the road, who knows what could happen there. Although Notre Dame does play both. So even with one loss, that game's going to be nuts. Even if they both have one, Army and Navy both have one loss, but that's another talk for another time. But this is going to be a test for Notre Dame. But that being said, it's also going to be a test for Navy. This is going to be the best team that Navy's seen all year. But just styles. I still think this favors Notre Dame, even though I can understand why people are a little bit nervous. I really can. I mean, it's Notre Dame, for crying out loud. We've seen them go out and have some bad performances when they needed it. But I think this one's a little different, because you got to remember, when Notre Dame lost that just ridiculous game to Northern Illinois, that basically puts them they can't lose. If they want, assuming they want to make you might want to make the college football playoff, right? For Notre Dame now, especially at this point in the year, every game's a playoff game for them. Because right now, I mean, a 2-loss Irish team with this schedule and those 2 losses, they're not making it. I mean, if they do, there's going to be torches and pitchforks and people losing their mind, and probably rightfully so. But I'm sorry, you can't have a loss to Northern Illinois and then lose to Navy, which, again, Navy is a much better team than they've had, much better team this year than they've had in years past. And I mean, again, to be ranked 25, it's not, you're not a bad team by any means. But I think Notre Dame knows what's at stake here, and I do think their rushing attack it might be stymied a bit, maybe early, but I do think over time, I do think Notre Dame's going to find a way here. The last spread I saw, I want to take a look at this again real quick, was 11, I believe. And I'm going to see if I can pull this up here again real quick. That's actually went up. It's 13.5. I don't know about that. Vegas may be seeing something or knowing something that we don't, and they're usually pretty good at it. So, but I do like the Irish chances here. I think it's going to be a grinded out. Type of game, no doubt about it. But I do like what they're doing. I do like the way they are playing, and assuming they take care of the ball. And I think the other key is just maximizing those opportunities. You don't want to get yourself in a good spot and leave points on the board. And that's where it gets scary, because if you're getting 3 points is out of 7, and your drives are stalling, that's what keeps Navy hanging around. So I don't think think Notre Dame's kind of needs to avoid that, needs to be good on third down, which we could say about every game we play, right? So should be a good one though. Noon kick, I believe. Yep, noon kick. So I'll have to have a couple different TVs going here. We'll have IU and Notre Dame going at the same time. So that's will make for a pretty fun Saturday afternoon. No doubt about that. Again, appreciating the comments. Feel free to interact, chat with me, give me your opinions on this. I am really excited. I was really excited just to have Notre Dame and IU just here. We were talking both of them in a college football playoff. It's just actually kind of crazy to me. But with that said, I do want to jump in before we get into the back part of the program here. I do want to discuss a little bit about Butler, and I've not really mentioned Butler at all on any of the shows, and I'll just be honest with you, nobody really cares about their football team. I mean, outside of, oops, wrong collar there. These production things are kind of crazy today. It's all good though. Football wise, it's, what is it, 1A or 1AA or whatever the heck they call it now. I can't remember, and they're having a good year. So, I'm happy. It's good for them. I'm really happy for them. But around here, it's basketball, right? And so I wanted to take a few minutes just trying to preview a little bit, each major school going into the season, right? So we talked a little Purdue already. We've talked, we talked some Pacers or week before. So I wanted to get into definitely want to get into Butler and talk a little bit about Butler, and production's not going to let me do that. So we're just going to roll with this right here. So we'll definitely talk about the men and the women. And I'm gonna start with the women first because honestly, I've got a little bit more good feelings about the women than I do the men. So the women, 15 coming off a 15-17 record last year, 6-12 in the Big East. This has been a rebuild. Coach Austin Parkinson now, this will be his third season, and he's already won like double the amount of Big East games than his predecessor did. So he's definitely got this team going in the right direction. And here's a good thing. They returned 7 of their 8 top scorers from last season, including Caroline Strand, who returned. She was 15 points a game for them. They've only lost, I believe, like two girls off the roster, and one of them was, I believe she was averaging around 13, 14, somewhere in there. But you're bringing, 7 of your 8 top scorers back. You got one transfer came in, and you've got like 3 or 4 freshmen who have come in. So I like the direction they're going. Anytime you can return your core back for another year, and this team's still young. Now, do I think this team is going to be making a NCAA tournament bid? Probably not. I think they're probably still maybe about a year away from doing so. NIT, I think for sure. I would be a little surprised that didn't happen. I just don't know that they're going to make that jump. I would love to be proven wrong on that. Because I'm telling you right now, if you haven't been to Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, you're missing out. You just are. It is such a great atmosphere. It's just all the history behind it, the tradition of it. It's all just, it is a great place for hoops. It just is. And any of you people who know ball, know hoops, and have a history for it, I'm sure you've heard of it. I'm telling you, put it on your list. It is just such a fun place to be. I'm lucky enough that my neighbor has season tickets to the men, so I usually get to piggyback off him a couple times throughout the year and go enjoy it myself selfishly. So, again, it's live hoops. You can't really turn it down. So yeah, I do expect some good improvement from the women this year. I think the Butler fan base has something to build upon and be excited about. Could they sneak a few upsets here and there? I think they can. I think they're gonna give the like I said, the fan base something really good to look forward to going on or moving forward. So looking forward to that. Unfortunately for the men, I'm not sure I can say the same. I hate to go down that road, but mean, they were 18-15 last year. They were 9-11 in the Big East. And, you know, Jalen Thomas and Posh Alexander have left. Jameel Telfort, PR Brooks are still there. This team started off well last year, and they got into the heart of the Big East schedule, and around February or so, they just folded and just tanked. And they get a win against Xavier to get up getting the 8th seed and then win that on tiebreak, end up playing Xavier in the Big East tournament, and they're done. And then, so that puts them in the NIT. And, you know, if you know how the NIT works, a lot of those games are played on, you know, home courts, and lost at home to Minnesota. So it was just a bad back half, back third, whatever, for them. And, you know, they've brought in, you know, Thad Matta is back in his third year. Thad Matta's proven he can coach. This is not anything against Thad Matta, but, you know, again, he goes to the transfer portal, and that's okay. That's part of the game now, I guess. But the guys he's coming, it's just a lot of what ifs. There's really nobody that you see on this roster right now that you go, oh man, that's going to be a big difference maker for them. So it's just kind of up in the air right now to me. And for me, we're going to see how they start and how they look, because they've got a schedule that is it's very favorable to start the season. In fact, I'm pulling it up right here. You know, we've got Missouri State, Western Michigan, Merrimack, Eastern Illinois, Austin Peay. You know, then they get into a few. They got Northwestern on there, and I think pull us back up. Who else they had on there? SMU. Before they end running into a juggernaut that's Houston. I think they need to have a good start. I'm not saying they need to go undefeated here at the early, but, you know, they need to probably rack 7-8 wins here and gives ourselves a chance if they want to compete in the Big East and try to get back into the tournament. But to me, it's just a lot of what ifs, and I just don't feel great about it. I hope they prove me wrong, but right now I'm feeling kind of on them. I just am, especially in the Big East. It's a tough conference. I mean, you got, you know, 2-time defending champ UConn. That we saw UConn last year. Nobody could touch them. Not to mention Marquette, who's solid. I mean, it's going to be kind of a wait and see approach. I'm just not right now. I'm not sold. But hey, love to be wrong. Would love to be wrong. So on that note, let's go ahead and see what we can do here. Might try and get our last. Let's go ahead and get our last break in here, and then we'll wrap it up with some Pacers and Colts talk. Thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out with me. Big Mike here, Indy Sports Nation, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No. Not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on The Defining Moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, welcome back. Final part of the show, episode 5, Indy Sports Nation. Thank you once again for chiming in, hanging out. Much appreciated. Well, as most of you know, the NBA is back at it. And our Pacers got a nice win in Detroit. 115-109. Was a bit of a rough start. Didn't love what I saw early on. I'm not, again, it's opening, it's first game, not, whatever. I thought early Miles Turner was kind of getting, roughed up a bit. Didn't love what I was seeing there. And, first 3 quarters, it was a bit of a deal. I mean, Tyrese was not having a great night. Couldn't hit water from a boat for a bit. But I have to touch on the, who I thought was the MVP of the game. And I mentioned this a few weeks ago when I was previewing the Pacers. I was like, we need to see what we're going to get from Benedict Mathurin. Remind you, he was not, the Pacers did not have him the last half of the season and through the playoffs. So he's that type of player that when this high octane type offense is not quite, as sharp as it needs to be, he's a guy that even when it has to be slowed down a little bit, he can still go get buckets. And off the bench, what do you have? 19, I believe. Yeah. Pull us up right here. It's like 19, which I thought he had 20, but doesn't matter. 19 and 6 in 28 minutes. To me, he was the difference. And in that fourth quarter, the Pacers really just turned it up, and it was kind of the Pacers that we know. I mean, even after Miles with the slow start, he finished 20 points, 9 boards. Would have liked to seen him get a few more boards than that, but, whatever. You take the win. But Siakam with 19. Halliburton with 15 had that dagger 3 at the end, which sealed it. Scrappy TJ McConnell coming off the bench with 14 and 16 minutes. So it just goes to prove this bench. It was one of the best benches, if not the best bench in the league last year. And here they are again. However, setback was with James Wiseman. You kind of saw it. You knew something was up. You kind of saw it in his face, and they did announce it, Achilles tendon tear. The Pacers have not officially said that he's out or he's done for the year. Typically, those injuries, obviously, they don't heal overnight. So all they've said so far is they're looking at treatment options. I think you have to assume that he's probably going to be done. And that is a bummer because he had some nice moments in preseason. Just getting after on the boards, and just a guy that could give you maybe 10 to 15 a night to give Miles a break, and a guy that was getting you scrappy on the boards. So that's a tough one from a depth perspective. It'll be interesting to see what the Pacers do there. If they kind of move some things around. We got a few other guys hurt as well. How does that change with Jarris Walker and Ben Shepherd and Jackson and those guys? As time, we'll wait and see. And there'll probably be some more definitive news on that, and maybe by next week we will see. But tonight, the quest for 82-0 continues. Speak it into existence, baby. 82-0. This is happening. Knicks are just another team in the way. Calling it right now, 82-0. Why not? Come on, let's have some fun with it, right? Silliness aside, look, I'm not a Knicks fan. I probably never will be a Knicks fan. I mean, I can appreciate some of their players. Don't get me wrong; it's not nothing like that. They got some talent over there, no doubt about it. But I love this as a Pacers fan. I'm old school, man. I'm an old man now, so for me to be able to get a rematch tonight, the Eastern Conference semifinals, the place to be amped, and there's a rivalry kicking back up here again, and I'm here for it, man. I love it. There's gonna be some chippiness, and that crowd at the Garden's gonna be nuts. I do look for Halliburton to kind of get back in it and have a decent game tonight. That was rough on him on Wednesday. I mean, he did come back and have 15 points, but his assists were not what they normally are, and I don't anticipate he does that back-to-back games. We'll see what happens here. But in fact, when this show's over, I'm going to be heading down the road and plucking myself and getting some food right in front of the TV and see how this goes. I would love to see them get this one. I know it's a tall task. Don't get me wrong, but the Pacers schedule, and I didn't get into this. We previewed them a few weeks ago, but it's not an easy schedule to start the season. I mean, so Detroit win you needed in my eyes. So they have the Knicks tonight. Their home opener is Sunday against Philadelphia, and then they turn around on Monday and play in Orlando. And Orlando's not what they once were. They're actually pretty competitive now. And then to come back home to play Boston. And then after that, 2 New Orleans, 2 Dallas, back home against Orlando. So this is not an easy start to the season. So, games like this, I do think they still matter. I know that they got Karl Anthony Towns and whatnot. I get it, but that's gonna be interesting how that match, the dynamic of him, how that plays in. Well, it'll be interesting to see tonight. But I don't know. I think this is a game they can get, and we'll see. I mean, the point is this is back to a rivalry, and I'm here for it. I am absolutely here for it. So we'll catch up on some more. I mean, we're going to be talking a ton of Pacers as this as we go through the season here, right? But I like I like it. I like where we're. I like how this team's set up, and we'll see. I mean, like I said, I think personally, if they could come out of this stretch here, this first 10 games, winning 6-7, I'll love that. But at the same time, let's be honest, not all is going to be lost if that's the case. I mean, it's a long season. But anyway, I'm almost speaking to existence, man. 82-0. Why not? Why not? All right, so that brings us to, and I said I changed up the order today, right? So we're going to talk. We're wrapping up the Colts. Man, that game was ugly Sunday, and I tell you, I think I feel like I need to go see my optometrist or something because these games, it's just killing my eyes, man. Just absolutely killing my eyes. Look, I mean, the Steelers game went bad. I mean, that wasn't what I would call an ugly win. I would say, the Bears win was ugly, Titans win was ugly, Dolphins win was ugly. And look, again, like I said, you got the win. They needed to get those 2 wins. They really, really did, because we're into the gauntlet of the schedule now, right? So we're, we'll talk about the game this weekend here in a minute. But as I mentioned, it's at Houston, at Minnesota, back home against Buffalo, at the Jets, home against the Lions. This is not going to be an easy one, or easy stretch rather. But man, just back to that Dolphins game, it was just as ugly. I mean, Richardson did not look good at all. Obviously, we had some injuries that were still lingering. So there's no JT, no Defoe, no EJ Speed. EJ Speed ended up being a late scratch. So you're out without one of your main linebackers. You're without your best player overall. Still without your best defensive player. And Richardson goes 10 to 24. And look, I had people in my section at the game actually chanting, "We want Flacco," and I just was like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" I can't believe I still have to say this every single time. The dude only played like 15 games in college. He's raw. They drafted him because they just the great athlete he is and just the raw talent that he has. But again, we said it from day one. He's going to be a project. And he's going to have games where he comes out and just wows you, and other games you're going to be like, "Oh dear, what are we doing? What is that?" And that was last week. Well, what was that? It was not good. But I will say this: there was a couple running plays, especially, and we all get nervous now here in Indy because we see him run, right? We're like, "Oh dear Lord, don't let him get hurt again." He had one where he had Jalen Ramsey all over his back and just like swatted him away like a fly. Like, Joe Flacco's not doing that. I'm sorry, y'all. He's just not doing that. He's not. So you got to get him in, get him experience, get him reps. And he's got to learn by little trial by fire here, man. And I know I've had a few people, come to me and they're like, "Well, they just need to take the Band-Aid off of it, just go." And it's a fair question. It's a fair assessment. At the end of after the game, Shane Steichen took a lot of the blame. He's like, "I just didn't, I didn't call the best plays. I didn't put our team in the best position." And what little bit of replays I watched, and Miami's defense isn't bad. Those corners were giving our receivers some, they're battling them. So there wasn't a ton of options out there at times, but there were definitely some that were missed too. So to me, I kind of put it on both. I thought it was, from a coaching standpoint, I thought it was probably the worst game that Shane Steichen has called since he's been coach here. So when you combine that with the quarterback didn't play well, it just makes for an ugly deal. I think the saving grace is they were playing the Dolphins. And honestly, the play of the game was when we go out, the Colts are going out to looks like to kick a field goal, right? And then they run Richardson back in. They put kicker Matt Gay out wide. So it looks like it's going to be we're going for it. So Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins, the head coach of the Dolphins, is going crazy for a timeout, and he gets the timeout, which they did not have at the end of the game when they had the ball last. So I think they really wish they would have had that timeout to try to set something up to get 7, and they couldn't. And so the clock was kept running. So to me, that was probably the play of the game. And that just tells you how ugly of a game it was. So moving on to this weekend. Houston Texans, who I've said, since I've been doing this show now, they are the best team in the division. Just from both sides of the ball, they are. They took an L last weekend, which to a little bit of my surprise. So now they are 5-2. Colts are now 4-3, and now this is a big game now. Colts could go in there if they go in and pull the upset, and they're a 5-point underdog, by the way. And the injury report is looking really good right now. I mean, I just came across my phone that JT will play. I expect DeForest Buckner to play. So a lot of these injured guys are back now, which is a big boost. And Nico Collins, who's been a thorn in the Colts side for a while now, is on IR. So, and Stroud, as good as he is, hasn't looked quite as sharp since Collins has been on IR. So this sets up to be a possible upset for the Colts. Possible. The other reason I feel positive they could potentially pull this off is Anthony Richardson, his 2 games he's played against Houston, has actually played pretty well. And forget the home opener, he actually looked pretty good. And that was a game the Colts could have won. And some say should have. I'll just say it was winnable, but I'll just leave it at that. So this game now could change the complete trajectory of the Colts season here. They get a win here. And now you're tied for the division lead. Now, technically, Houston would still hold the tiebreaker because of division record and conference record. But now you're tied. You split the series. And there's still a lot of season left. So now, what I kind of thought initially, going, I don't know, maybe this is, and it's still going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. And most are picking Houston to win, and I get it. I absolutely get it. I'm just saying, I feel it's like it could happen. I feel like the Colts could go down there and pull off the upset. We will see. Obviously, coaches have got to be calling better plays. We got to get better quarterback play this week. And the defense has to be more disciplined. You can't let Mixon run for another 160 yards or whatever it was like he did in week 1. They've got one less weapon now. I mean, they still have Diggs and Tank Dell. I mean, don't get me wrong. Those are talented dudes. And they're still going to have some options. But I like what I'm seeing from our corners right now. I can't believe I'm saying that. But Womack, his numbers are great. Jalen Jones is still playing very well. Again, it's a game that at one point in the season I probably would have just said, "Oh boy, we're going to be down. This could be bad. It could be a blowout." But even as I've seen, these so-called experts pick, most of them are picking a close game. And again, divisional games, you just never know. They're never easy. So we'll see what happens. At 1:00 in Houston, it's if they lose, if the Colts lose, I mean, like I mentioned before, I think the ultimate goal was a wild card for this year. So they're not going to be out of it by any means. I mean, they're at 4-3, they're okay. I've just said through this gauntlet of a schedule they've got coming up here again: Texans, Vikings, Bills, Jets, Lions. If they could get 2 of those and come out 6-6, and then you've got the last 5 weeks of at New England, at Denver versus Tennessee, at the Giants versus Jacksonville. Those are all very, very winnable. So you're putting yourself in a position for that wild card, even if you do unfortunately lose this week. But I don't. Let's see. I can't wait for it. Should be going, no doubt about it. So, all right, folks, that's going to do it for me. I went over my time limit a little bit, but I thought I'd make up for it because I went under last week. Little scheduling conflict there. So, hey, thank you so much for joining in. Appreciate all your feedbacks. Much appreciated. We will see you back here next Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Indy Sports Nation on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a great weekend, everybody.